Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. Globally, we have vaccines to prevent more than 20 life-threatening diseases. Immunization, according to the World Health Organization, prevents 3.5 to 5 million deaths every year from diseases like diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, influenza, and measles. Vaccines reduce risks of getting a disease by working with your body's natural defenses to build protection. When you get a vaccine, your immune system responds. However, vaccination coverage has plateaued in recent years and dropped since 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic and associated disruptions over the past 2 years have strained health systems. About 25 million children missed out on vaccination in 2021. That's 6 million more than in 2019 and the highest number since 2009. My guest is a public health physician, HOD Community Health General Hospital Ifako-Ijayi, and National Chief of Protocol of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Ime Okun. You're welcome to the show, Doctor.
Hi, Mary. Good afternoon.
So what ill effects exactly did we suffer from lagging behind with immunizations?
Okay, so permit me to start first by distinguishing what vaccination is and immunization, because most times we use them interchangeably. So vaccination is that process where a material is put in the system through oral means or through injections, for which the body responds and gives an immune response to diseases, to prevent diseases. Immunization is the process of the conversion of that vaccine and generates that immune response. So vaccination is the process of you taking the vaccine, while the immunization is your own body's response to the vaccination that you have taken. So this year's World Immunization Week, we're talking about the theme, the big catch-up. Like we have introduced, we're trying to catch up what we have lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So between 2019 and 2021, the immunization coverage has dipped. It has gone below the levels pre-COVID, and we're trying to see how we're going to catch up. And the effects, like you asked me now, has been outbreaks. Nigeria has had its own fair share, as we've had a diphtheria outbreak, which otherwise has been a very long time that we had such an experience. So, and it has to do with low immunization coverage. There's something we call herd immunity. So by the time we vaccinate children across our communities, if we have like 80% coverage, then you can be sure that even if the disease entity is going to come to the community, because of that level of coverage, there's not going to be an outbreak of disease. So because of the low coverage that we experienced during the pandemic, we've been having outbreaks even globally, like you mentioned, measles, yellow fever, diphtheria, and all that. So that is the effects that we've had with the low coverage.
Talking about diphtheria, yeah, just like you said, it hasn't happened for a long time. Then suddenly it comes out. I've never before heard of anybody who had diphtheria. What happened to the concept of eradication, whereby we don't hear about the disease anymore?
Okay, so concept of eradication, when you say a disease entity is eradicated, then that means you have gone beyond elimination, because it's elimination before eradication. Elimination most times is regional, then eradication is global. You can't find it anywhere in any of the regions anymore. So we have not gotten yet to that point of eradication, and that is why, disease is global and it can travel. So if you have not covered all the regions, then it can still move from one place to the other and cause an outbreak.
Okay, let's talk about COVID-19 vaccines. Are people still getting them? And if they are, what's the protocol for COVID-19 vaccines now? How many do they have to get? When do they get them? When do they stop getting them?
Okay, so COVID-19 vaccination, the routine, we have the Johnson & Johnson is taken in 2 doses, while the others are taken in 3 doses. Johnson & Johnson, you take the first dose, then after 4 weeks, you take the second dose, while the other ones we take them the first dose after 4 weeks, then after 6 months, you take the last dose. People are still taking it. However, unlike the time that we had the lockdown, everybody was talking so much about COVID. So people were really scared when they see people being taken to isolation centers. So everybody was coming around to take the COVID vaccine. But now what you have is more of maybe people that want to travel, and since some countries allow you to show your screening certificate for COVID in place of having to do the tests before entering their countries. So you find more of such people coming around for the COVID-19 vaccination. That's what we have currently.
But we're not really
patronage, if I
hearing
may
of
say so.
any serious infections, COVID infections like we did before. Is it that there are no more there? Are we acclimatizing, or are we more immune? What's happening?
Okay, so you know that luckily for us in Africa, especially Nigeria, we didn't really have those very, really severe cases of COVID, like what we were hearing. Our fatality rate was not as high as in some developed worlds that we saw. So we have been lucky all the while. And the COVID-19 vaccination has come again, and many people have been taking it, even though it could be a lot better. So you find out that we're having some kind of immunity, even if anybody gets COVID, the mild, moderate forms are the ones that we're getting. COVID is still very much around. It has not totally gone. So we still need to keep our safe measures in place. But like I said, we have some bits of immunization. So the cases that we're having are not so many, and they are not as severe as would have been when we didn't have vaccinations.
Okay, starting with the COVID-19 vaccines, vaccinations are making it much faster into the population. Now we have the R21 after the RTSS for malaria, and Nigeria has approved it. Ghana has approved it before the World Health Organization. Are we equipped to actually approve a vaccine before the World Health Body?
Well, there is a regional approach to it. So when you look at the vaccines, the stages in vaccine development, by the time you have passed through the phase 3 trial, there can be approval for its use, especially when you look at it that the risk, the benefit outweighs the risk. And we know that we are a country that is malaria endemic, and it will be better for us to take the vaccine rather than wait for a very long process. Yes, it is good to have WHO approval, but like I said, when the benefits, and once you've passed the phase 3 trials, clinical trials, then you can have the approval. We have a registered agency, the NAFDAC, that is equipped by law to go to test these vaccines and approve it for us to use, that it is safe and it is effective. And that they have done for us, considering our circumstances of endemicity of malaria.
Okay, so that's very cheery news. The reason is I'm thinking about another disease that is causing a lot of problem, and that's Lassa fever. We don't hear of people getting Lassa fever in other climes, at least not the way we get it here. So where are we, on a vaccination for Lassa fever? Because see, if we get that vaccination, if we get that vaccine, then we can approve it and, help the situation ourselves.
We will not be able to give you immediate information on the development of Lassa fever vaccine, but I know that our Nigerian Institute of Medical Research has been working a lot trying to get our vaccines. If you recall, there was even a time they were trying to have our locally produced COVID-19 vaccines.
Yes.
So our researchers are working, and I'm sure that all those concerns will be taken care of in due time.
Okay, so can we say that any irretrievable damage has been done by those children missing some vaccinations? This problem we are having, is this something we can completely get over and gain what we lost? Or has damage been done that we cannot regain?
So whenever you have a death due to a disease, you can call it irretrievable because that life has been lost. So during the outbreaks, there have been increase in morbidity and mortality. The lives that have been lost during the outbreak cannot be regained. However, for those that fell ill and have recovered, we can say, okay, that is a success story for us. Then this catching up on immunization that we're trying to do, the agencies, WHO, UNICEF, Gavi, Vaccine Alliance, Bill and Melinda Gates, they are pumping in a lot of resources to see that these areas where the dip had been noticed. We've said that we've had like 25 million children miss vaccines in 2021, for which Nigeria is one of the 20 countries that accounted for 75% of these misses. So they are trying to give enough resources so that these countries that have suffered this reduction in vaccine coverage can quickly catch up. So this time around, we're not waiting until you come to the centers to come and get vaccinated. We're doing widespread community outreach, going to the marketplaces where you can find so many people and speak to them and give them the vaccination. We're also working through the religious and community leaders to ensure they speak to their people so that there will be better and wider vaccine acceptability, because that is one other thing that we need to work on. So we are doing that, and while we are increasing the awareness and vaccine acceptability, we are ensuring that our personnel are on ground so that once we get your consent, we immediately, you won't say it's because of transportation or difficulty in accessibility that you are not now able to get the vaccines. We try to make them accessible as possible.
All right, that's good. I was going to ask you that, but we will go on a short break. When we come back, we explore that a little more. Let's go on a short break. Please stay with us and meet us on the other side. Welcome back. It's Health Matters on Channels Television, and we're talking about catching up on immunization. You can call 0808-054-2233 if you have questions on the topic. You can also tweet at CTV_Mary A. It should be showing on your screen now. You can also send email to moalale@channelstv.com. Dr. Ime, you were talking about taking it to the people. So are you saying the whole of the EPI you can actually take to the people now?
Yes, we are doing that a lot these days. And we even expanded to include the COVID-19 vaccination. So we do outreaches during which we take even the routine immunization vaccines along with us. We do house to house. We do temporary posts, temporary fixed posts. The fixed posts are usually the health centers, but we can have a temporary fixed post where we use a place like Oba's Palace, for instance, and use our health educators to go into the communities and mobilize people to come to that place, which is central to them and closer to them than probably the health center. So, and when they get there, we make sure that all those vaccines are there, the BCG, the oral polio, the injectable polio, Penta, PCV, measles, yellow fever, and even the COVID-19 vaccine for the adults.
That's beautiful to hear. But do they have documentation to show what they've had, what they've not had, to just make it a smoother process?
Yes, so we encourage them to come with their cards. You know, the COVID-19 vaccination has its own card, and the children have their own vaccination cards too. So we encourage the mothers to come so that it is marked, especially zero-dose children. You know, the zero-dose are children that have not had any vaccine whatsoever. So you can find like a 3-month-old that has not even had any vaccination, whereas at 3 months, you're supposed to have had at birth, at 6 weeks, and at least at 10 weeks.
Okay. Now, during the time that people missed vaccinations, of course, some children grew beyond the age where you give them vaccines. What do you do with such children? People who probably are now over 5, maybe they were 4, and now they are 7, but they didn't take some vaccines. Or maybe they were supposed to take it when they were 1 year old, and now they are 3, 4. What do you do?
Yeah, for a few, because that's one of the reasons why some vaccines like measles vaccination, they had an introduction of a second dose. Once upon a time, once you're 9 months, you've not taken the dose, it's difficult to have another one. But it was introduced, and now you can take, even if you've missed the 9 months, you can still take first dose and a second dose. So we have first dose at 9 months, second dose at 15, and we can still take up to 2 years. So, but those ones that have reached 4 to 5 is pretty difficult, especially those early age vaccine. The BCG, the hepatitis, well, hepatitis B can be taken even up to adulthood, but those ones that are restricted to the childhood age, once they have passed that age, not so many of them can be given again because of the reduced effectiveness at that age.
Can you tell us the connection between vaccinations and antimicrobial resistance, which is becoming a big problem in our climate now?
Okay, so antimicrobial resistance is occurring because of misuse and abuse of antibiotics. People just use antibiotics without prescription. Somebody will say, I did a test, they say it's malaria and typhoid, so you just go over the counter and collect amoxicillin or whichever one you feel will work for you. Or a colleague or friend that goes to the hospital, they give a particular diagnosis, and you feel you have similar symptoms, you go take antibiotics. And we're now developing resistance, especially because of this abuse and misuse. Some people I remember, I think about 2 weeks ago, somebody complained to me of some symptoms of respiratory tract infection, for which I prescribed antibiotics for 7 days. And she was very sincere. By the time she saw me this clinic dates, I asked her, have you finished your dose of antibiotics? She sincerely told me 2-3 days when she felt better and she stopped it. So these are the things that cause the antimicrobial resistance. And by the time we do not have antibiotics to use to fight infectious diseases, what will happen to us? So vaccinations prevent so many infectious diseases, like you likely mentioned earlier. About 20 diseases are prevented. So if we prevent them and they don't even occur in the first place, then we won't even be needing antibiotics, speak less of having antimicrobial resistance. Recall that vaccination is a primary level of prevention of diseases. We have 3 or even 4. We have the primary level, which prevents the onset of the disease itself. We have the second level, where there is early detection and there is treatment. The third is rehabilitation, because the disease entity has already occurred. So the primary level of prevention, if we can catch that, which includes vaccination, health education, breastfeeding and all that, then we won't even get to the level of getting the disease, which would necessitate use of antibiotics and push us into misuse and abuse, which will cause antimicrobial resistance. So it's a very vital tool in the fight against antimicrobial resistance.
There are some people who don't take vaccines. I hear a lot of people do that abroad. How much of a problem is that here in Nigeria?
We don't have so much of that in Nigeria. The few we've had is due to maybe religious, like at the time, some particular religion was talking about vaccination causing infertility and all that. So we do a lot of creation of awareness so that we'll be able to disabuse their minds from those who demystify, in short. So we demystify and increase their or restore their confidence in the vaccination. And we, of course, use examples of people that have taken those vaccinations, are now grown, and they do not have any problems. So we do not have so many of that in this climate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ime, for coming on the show and enlightening us. I know how much it took you to be on this show with the hold up and traffic and everything. Thank you so very much. And thank you, viewers at home, for being there, listening to the program. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. Have a wonderful day.